The Man with the Golden Gun is now 50 years old and remains one of the most entertaining entries in the series. We gathered to discuss why we love the film so much, and it was great to have so many of you contribute with your thoughts. For the final part, sit back as we discuss the unbelievable finale, as well as our final thoughts.
Yes, it's a guest I'm expecting. No, he won't be leaving.
Bonjour, Monsieur Bond. I am Knick-Knack. Dom Pérignon 64.
I prefer the 62 myself. Still, beats a bag of peanuts.
Monsieur Scaramanga will welcome you personally.
Forgive me, Mr. Bond. A vulgar display, but I couldn't resist it. Because I am so delighted to see you again. A harmless toy. I am, as you can see now, completely unarmed. Cigarette? We have so much in common, Mr. Bond. We have so much to discuss, and we will never have this opportunity again. Ours is the loneliest profession, so let us spend a few pleasant hours together.
How can I refuse such a gracious invitation?
Splendid! Splendid!
Scaramanga's Funhouse. Let's just talk about this. I know I've talked about it more and more, but I genuinely do think it's one of the most original. Like, it's a coda, isn't it? The way that the pre-title goes into this, and it's that brilliant trick of we know what's coming, but oh no, it's slightly different this time. And can Bond overcome the things that we've seen this guy fail at? And it starts off, yes, he's going to trip up. That's funny. The same, knick-knack laughing. But then Bond isn't using as many bullets. That's the first thing. He's sparing his bullets more. But then, of course, he loses the gun. And Bond's so clever, it's the cameras. He must have seen that this is being filmed.
He's climbing up the scaffolding underneath it.
He's got the intelligence to try and... the use of mirrors.
Yeah.
This is filmmaking on another level. It's not some just quick, we'll do a Bond film in a year, let's just rush through it. This is inspired filmmaking, and it's really well shot. The setting, the production design of the funhouse. And then, can you imagine they filmed all that, and then, John, can you just come up with some music for this?
Well, this is what I was going to say about that particular scene.
Yeah.
Scaramanga's Funhouse, apart from being visually eclectic, and it's kaleidoscopic, and I adore that.
Yeah.
But the music that accompanies that scene, the way that scene is scored, Scaramanga's Funhouse, completely elevates the scene, and it's full of tension, and it's thrilling to watch, and it never gets old for me. Especially, obviously, when it's the simplest thing. He's trying to traverse the scaffolding. He drops his weapon. It's the simplest thing. And the thing is, he's then got to use his head, which is what I love. He's not got any elaborate gadgets. He's got nothing that's going to rescue him. It's him on his own, and he's got to use his nous. And we can see him processing his thoughts. He's like, what do I do now? And it's a great scene, and obviously, but we don't know what he's planning next. And the next thing we see he's in the mannequin suit, and I just think it's one of the best scenes, not in the film, but in overall Bond, and it's highly underrated.
Having watched it a number of times, thinking that was maybe the only reason that Scaramanga, why we touched on earlier, why would Scaramanga have an effigy of Bond in that position, you know? And very clearly, it's so that at the end of the movie, Roger can step into his clothes. I know that now, but it's a very interesting idea. How do these assassins train? Well, clearly they get people brought to them, you know, in this instance by Nick Nack, to test their metal against so-and-so. And from a score point of view, the funhouse is a great idea because it goes right off left field. Dixieland is where we're going. You know, we go with that Dixieland sound, which is just terrific, and those moments of humor accented by the music. You know, Al, wherever you are, don't hold it against me. You know, all that sort of stuff, which I think is brilliant. So,
the other nugget of trivia, I'm not sure if any of you know this, I mean, I'm sure you do, but you know the cowboy who's doing doing that?
Yeah.
That apparently, this is an urban legend, the face is modelled after Roger Moore. Apparently, it was meant to be him.
Well,
he's quite clearly Roger Moore, I think,
Yeah.
you know, or a model of him. I think it might be Roger Moore.
It is Roger for some of the close-ups, and then the long shots is his stuntman Les Crawford. So there's the two of them.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Roger's appeared in this film 3 times. There you go.
Yes. Absolutely.
I don't know. That was a cost-cutting exercise. Roger, can you just would you mind just being the cowboy as well?
It's like Guy Hamilton's Kind Hearts and Coronets. We need you to play a number of characters in there.
Which pre-title sequence is Bond in it the most?
Yes.
Isn't it twice?
2 Bonds in the title sequence. The funhouse sequence at the end is a great way of Scaramanga trying to test Bond. It's on his own ground. He knows where he wants to go. Bond has to find out where he needs to go, but as you say, aware of the cameras, aware of this, filming it with mirrors. You know, when you've got lots of mirrors about, that's tricky. Camera positions need to be very well sorted out. It's beautifully done. It's a really, really good, and the music building and building and building to that final shot where he stops him on the stairs. You know, it's great. It's a really, really good sequence.
Because nowadays you'd film it, wouldn't you? You want your 2 guys. Eventually, they're coming to go mano a mano. There'd be a massive fight. There'd be loads of stunts involved, loads of shots, spectacular.
There'd be split screens probably now as well. Yeah.
They don't even see each other. As soon as he turns around, Bond and Scaramanga don't see each other once.
Gone. That's right. Yeah.
That's it.
Messieurs, I will remind you, this is un duel à la mort. Only one of you can leave the field of honor. If a coup de grâce is necessary, as your referee, I will administer it myself. I do not expect wounds, only a clean kill. On my command, each contestant will take 20 pesos. Are you ready, Monsieur Scaramanga?
Ready?
Are you ready, Monsieur Bond?
Ready?
I will now begin the count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Until that look on his face, Scaramanga, when he realizes what on earth's happened and that's too late, he's dead. It's too good. It's one of the best endings of a villain in any film.
You've just taken the words out of my mouth, Tom, because for me, it's that sheer look of failed.
Yeah.
But it's too late. And you can see his face dropping.
Yeah.
And as he's falling forward, he realizes it's over. And then bang, his face planted the floor.
It's just absolutely unbelievable. All the points you've said, music, the tension that's being built up, the look of Scaramanga before he's shot is just remarkable. When you just think about that, when now in isolation, you can get shivers thinking about how well done that is.
Mm-hmm.
I love the whole idea of Bond going backstage behind. It's almost like the Running Man kind of, you get to go behind and solve the problem from behind the scenes, which I love. And visually, it's just unbelievable. Like we mentioned in a lot of our episodes how we love it when stunts and set pieces are actually to do with the plot. They're not just put in there to show off or to create some kind of dazzling moment that actually has no meaning. That's kind of stunts. It's kind of linked to that. I don't like it in films when something's visually beautiful, but it has nothing to do with the story or the pace. It's just done there to show off, and it's actually a distraction. Here, I think you've got artwork. In this finale, you've got art that is completely of substance and functional to the climax, if you know what I mean. It's not just there to look good. It adds to the tension, to the fact that it's a fun house, the maze. It looks absolutely unbelievable, and the viewer is caught completely in it, entranced by it, and that builds to it's not just something that's pretty to look at and well filmed. It adds to the whole tension and the climax, and again, you've got John Barry's music behind this. It comes together so remarkably well, and I do agree, Tom. I think it must be up there for one of the best finales. It's incredible.
Really, I think it only gets points knocked off because people are like, "Well, after that, I don't really care. What you've got knick-knack in a rucksack, in a suitcase.
In a rucksack would have been even better.
Would have fit there.
Swings him over his shoulder.
His sad face, bless him. Again. Special effects artist Brian Smithies talked about working with the wonderful Derek Meddings on The Man with the Golden Gun, including creating some stunning miniatures.
And he had still about 3 or 4 weeks shooting to carry on out at a quarry somewhere, which is where they shot the attacks to the Neanderthals and the Pterosaurus flying overhead and all that stuff. And he gave me a load of stuff to carry over to Pinewood, to get to the workshop over there. And I sent me off to build the rock where the sunlight catcher comes up.
This is Man with the Golden Gun.
Beams the energy into the other rock.
Yeah.
Well, I built those islands.
Yeah.
I had a crew of 2 carpenters for a week, and then I had a wonderful crew of two plasterers, and we all worked together because the special effects was the only department you were allowed to touch anything. Otherwise, I couldn't pick up a hammer if I'd been any other department. But you could work very closely with these people because you could pick up the hammer, you could do plastering, as long as you weren't an idiot. And it was good. And so you had far more fun than a lot of people.
Wow.
And anyway, we built the islands. Then Derek phoned me up and said, "Look, I'm ready to come bring everything over from Shepperton. Could you bring your car over?" So we loaded up my car. It was an old Austin Maxi or something. And we loaded it up with guns, hand grenades, sticks of phony dynamite, you name it. It was all the pyrotechnic side, and there were some real detonators there. But they've just, for bullet hits and things. They were small stuff. And when we get to London Airport, there's the ring road that used to go around the north side of the. You used to go past where the Concorde hangar is, and it would drive around there, and you'd come out onto the A4. So I gaily pull in there, and there are tanks, there are Saracen armored cars, there are soldiers, there are police, all crawling over everything, and a huge line of traffic. Well, I couldn't very well turn around and make a runner for it. I'd get shot to Kingdom Come. And Derek was with me, and we get to the front of this long queue of people. They're getting these businessmen out, frisking them down, looking in the bonnet, looking in the tail, in the boot. And they get to me and I think, well, this is it. You know, I'm away for a couple of days. They'll never believe I'm working in film. I've got this. This is when they were trying. Terrorists were trying to blow an airliner out of the sky with a missile, and so it was a very real operation. Yeah. So the policeman came, took one look at me, and said, "Okay, sir, carry on." I was probably the only one that whole day that would have made it.
Yeah. Oh my word.
So ridiculous.
My word. Presumably the stuff like on Man with the Golden Gun, like blowing things up. Did you blowing up the island at the end? Was that part of it?
Yeah.
And was that pinewood as well?
That was a pinewood in the tank. I've got some photographs somewhere of that.
Oh, yeah. Who else was working? That was Sid Kane, the production manager.
No, Sid Kane was in those days an art director, production designer.
Right.
I can't remember all the names.
Again, people will not, a bit like the stunts. This was the pioneer of the Roger Moore innuendo on the phone to M at the end of the mission, wasn't it?
Innuendo. Yeah, exactly.
It is, isn't it?
Can I just say how terrific it is that Scaramanga's never been seen by anyone. They have no idea where he is. And yet M actually has the phone number for his ship.
I know.
It's brilliant.
It's genius.
Hello, operator. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of it. It works. I like it enormously. I've always liked it. I like huge amounts of it. There's only little nitpicky bits, but I can put it on and I can watch it from start to finish. The only thing that could have made this film any better is that if there were two characters on Scaramanga's island, there was Scaramanga himself, they would have had Knick-Knack and the possibility of a character called Paddywhack. If they could have done that, I would have been absolutely over the moon. I've
been waiting for that gag all night, haven't you, John?
Oh Lord, what are we now? 2 hours in? Yes, I've done reasonably well. But that would have been the only thing that would have pushed me over the edge and gone, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. But it's brilliant. It's a really tricky, as we said earlier, the second album is always a really tricky one. This second Roger film, they had to top Live and Let Die, and they've had to go in a very different direction. They're two very different movies. They've got a character which has come from one film and has arrived in the other to give some sort of smellance to the whole thing. And I think it works, and it's huge fun to watch. And it's going on the basis of entertainment. And my Bond list is always as based on entertainment, which is why people look at me like I've got four heads when I say that Diamonds Are Forever is my favorite Bond. This is not a million miles away. It's certainly in the top 10, definitely, and certainly something that I watch on a fairly regular basis.
Oh, John. Steve, go on.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love it. It is what John was saying. It's just wonderfully entertaining. I think it's visually beautiful in places. I love the score. I love Roger in it. Christopher Lee is possibly my favourite villain as Scaramanga of any Bond film. I mean, that's an incredible claim in amongst so many brilliant villains in the Bond films. It cracks along. There's a couple of scenes I would change, do differently. We talked about the barrel roll. I would definitely get rid of the whistle. I would love to have seen it shot from a different angle. But, splitting hairs, that, they did what they thought was best 50 years ago. And I love it. I love it. I love all the characters. I don't know what more to say, really. I mean, it feels wrong to say it's top 10 because having just watched it the other day, it feels like it should be top 3, but then you watch another Bond film that you absolutely love and then that pushes it around. It's very hard to order. I always say all the films in my top 10-ish, or probably even more, probably top 12 Bond films, are all basically my favourite films. I just love them. Yeah. It's very hard to put them in an order. It's in amongst that mix.
After the Cue the Music Buxton concert, we did a sort of thing at the table where each person had to give a question like, what's your favourite this, what's that? And one of the questions was, what's the most underrated Bond film? And of course, everyone usually comes out with World Is Not Enough or Quantum or something. But It must be this. How can it be? It must be, mustn't it? It can't be anything. In the rankings, it comes up usually like 19th, 18th. So it must be, mustn't it? It must be the most underrated Bond film. It must
What
be.
do I say? Until you tell us that You Only Live Twice is the most underrated Bond film tomorrow.
That's a very good argument too.
What do I think of Golden Gun? Golden Gun's great fun. Just great fun. One thing we haven't mentioned tonight, which I would say that I really love about it, is the locations and the fact that the fact that it's like it. You know, we can't underestimate taking people to Thailand and Hong Kong 50 years ago. Was no major feat. There's so much fun in this film. There are massive story plot holes, but I don't think you're going into this film to go and watch it for the story. I think someone mentioned about From Russia with Love comparisons. You can't compare them. You just can't compare them. They're just completely different films. There's loads to love about it, and it is in one of those films where if I just want to chill out and I want to switch my brain off, that's one of the films I will go to. And I think, like, as well, talking to people who've been involved in the film, I don't think we can underestimate the joy that brought to the people of Thailand and how it basically kickstarted the economy there, really, as well. And I think that's a legacy that is being lived on to this day. And fair play to the producers for taking Bond to a completely different part of the world and producing a brilliant film from that.
Sorry about that, darling. It was here. There's still no sign of high-fat. Every inquiry gets a polite Oriental brush-off.
With the compliments.
Foo yuck.
74, sir.
It is certainly top 3, 4 of the film that is absolute a comfort film. That if I'm feeling a bit rough or just want to turn my brain off, like this, the Moonraker would be up there. You know, you can just relax and feel like I know exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be fun. It's going to be. I'm not going to think about anything that's bothering me at the moment. So like I say, I've always loved it. I think that Roger is great in it, and it would be interesting to think of him potentially. It's such a different performance to his later films. What the series would have looked like if they carried on that kind of that kind of approach, that sort of more Fleming-esque type performance. But yeah, I think it's great. Christopher Lee, absolute, incredible actor, perfect for the role. Can't think of anyone who would come close to being as good as he was in. Definitely top tier Bond. Like I say, maybe not the best Bond film because there's potholes you could drive a truck through. There's some questionable kind of sexism, racism, all the sort of thing. If you want to get down to it and really pick it apart, some of it's not going to hold up. But for purely entertainment, as a Bond film, it's definitely in the top, and it's one that I've returned to a lot, just simply because it ticks all the boxes that I want from a Bond film sometimes. If I'm not in the mood for a kind of Connery, more sort of plot, more kind of sort of Cold War film, then if it's Roger, I'm going to go for this or A View to a Kill. They're my two go-tos for Roger.
There's 3 words for this film: audacious, bombastic, and colourful. And I love it. And like I said at the beginning, coming full circle, this is a childhood favourite of mine. It always will be a film very close to my heart, a Bond film that's right up there with all my favourites. And for all its faults, for which there are plenty, you can't fault this film overall. And you know what? I wouldn't change a thing about it. So may this live on for another 50 years, chaps, and beyond.
Oh, I think it's probably my favourite Bond to talk about. I think, but 2 of you have said in your final thoughts that and I agree that it's a Bond where you can leave your brain at home, you can whack it on, and it's the most entertaining thing ever. But the more you look into it, it's actually an in-depth character study, isn't it? You know, there's some really good performances, so much to talk about. Yes, the plot is secondary. We haven't even talked about high fat and all that sort of stuff. The Solex don't care, because it works somehow. It works, and it will. I know that will never be anything like this again. Like, even if you had a committee who said we're going to make the new Bond film as much like The Man with the Golden Gun as we can, obviously they would never do that. It wouldn't. You couldn't possibly recreate this. This is like mid-70s mania. It's just a completely different mood to the 60s Bonds. It's completely different to anything that went after it, including Spy Who Loved Me.
Mm.
It's probably the last really, really weird Bond film, isn't it? That is just what on earth is going on here? There's the odd scene after, you know, in the 70s and 80s, but even those are like, yeah, but that's done really well. That's funny. This is just random. This is so weird, and I think the location does help. I think that really makes it stand out. And growing up, I did love like You Only Live Twice. For it's so much of it's on location that you just think you're in that world with him.
Mm.
The one thing we haven't mentioned is the whole, oh, he only kills one person, which another hilarious thing that I never realised.
Yeah, you're so used to getting people left, right, and centre.
Who knows if that was intended, or in one of the cuts he might. We haven't done the belly dancer. We haven't talked about anyway. Right, Harry.
That was amazing. What you've all said is correct, and I totally agree. Basically, where to start? I know that there are faults in it, possibly, or think not faults, or faults and things you do differently. But ultimately, I absolutely love it, and it's entertainment, and that's where I'm at. That's what I want, basically. And it's also, after we've all mentioned music and everything, like we've just brought up at the end, the locations. It's full of creativity. It's full of balls. So much identity to it. It's its own thing.
Yes.
And that's what I want for Bond these days. I want it to make it its own thing. And that gives it the strength to last a long, long time when it's got its own world and its own identity. Really, I think what it comes down to, basically, I know that it gets laughed at and criticized, but like, what's the pressure? Where's the pressure coming from? If this film series was only 3 or 4 films long and this was one of them, you might think, oh, those missteps, have been crucial. Got 25 films. There's no pressure here. You can have it as part of one of 25. So absolutely great. You can choose to watch it whenever you want or not watch it as much as you want. But what I would say, like, make a decision, and this is what I feel like I've done, maybe, to just smile and enjoy this.
Yeah.
Stop holding on to your desires for dark stuff, because you've got other films for that.
Yeah.
Take this opportunity to see James Bond in full out entertainment, fun for the family, but also, a bit as an adult, adventure, and just decide to smile and enjoy The Man with the Golden Gun. And I think, and I hope, and maybe this is where we can kickstart it, I think it is fully deserving of its own renaissance soon.
Yes.
In the same way Moonraker's had its, I think Man with the Golden Gun is fully deserving of a renaissance.
My word.
So it's always the mark of a good picture when here we are 50 years later still talking about it.
Yeah, of course.
With this amount of passion.
And it's not just because the Bond franchise is so big. You can reel off so many iconic things in this film. The island itself, that's another thing. There's just so much iconic imagery on show here. And when people talk who don't particularly know an awful lot about the Bond films, they're not the geeks like us, they'll remember loads from this film. They remember it all. So I think to them, they probably wouldn't understand that it was rated low or it was seen as a silly Bond film in terms of it was poorly made and all the songs and stuff. You don't need to watch this and think about the Saltzman broccoli storyline that was going on. Just enjoy the film. And of course, if you don't know the order they were filmed in, it doesn't matter that Spy Love Me comes next. They're both brilliant films, in my view. So just enjoy them both.
If anybody's watching this and thinking, do you know, that's one of those places I'd always like to go to, but, you know, the James Bond Island, you're going to have to do it in the next 10 years because the mushroom is actually sinking.
Oh, right.
I saw something not too long ago, and in the last 25 years, it's come down 15 feet. So it's coming down at a fair rapid rate. The water level is rising and it's coming down. So if that is your plan, please do it in the next 10 years because it won't be there otherwise.
Jennifer, sorry, this is really urgent that we've
apologies, we've got to go. I know you wanted a weekend break, love, but we've got to go slightly further afield.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm at a point, getting to a point, it's always kind of changing, where I know recent films aren't my favourite, but I know there's a place for them. I understand that people like them and they do some things well. I'm still not willing to admit that No Time to Die, I don't think No Time to Die has a good heart and good motivations, but everything else, I think, has admirable intentions. And, you know, it's got a place for people. And that includes The Man with the Golden Gun. That really includes The Man with the Golden Gun. Go out and enjoy it and watch it. It's got its place.
Happy birthday. Happy 50th.
Yeah, happy 50th.
Half century.
Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Is Miss Goodnight with you? I'd like a word with her.
Hold on, sir.
Bond, are you there? Good night.
She's just coming, sir.
Good night. Good night. Good night.
Good night, sir.
Good night, good night. Sleep well, my dear. No need to fear. James Bond is here. Oh, love is required whenever he's hired. It comes just before the no one can catch him, no hitman can match him for his $1 million skill. One golden shot means another poor victim has come to a glittering end. If you want to get